This podcast is brought to you by the School of Advanced Study, University of London. All of our podcasts are available from our website, www.sas.ac.uk.
I just need to say that I've read longer versions of the papers, so I might be responding to other things. Is it okay? Mm-hmm. Where is it? So you can find it. Okay, so just first, thank you, Jill, for inviting me to respond to this quite inspiring panel. The discipline that I'm talking, kind of representing here today, is the Biblio, please. Is the maternal studies. Actually, you know, I thought I can choose, so I'm choosing maternal studies, and we can talk later about perhaps what does it mean. I won't be able to do a very detailed response in 10 minutes, so it will be mainly kind of observations, hopefully to help us to generate some conversation later on. So first, when I received the list of questions, maybe we can have them for this workshop. I thought,
try to quit the program.
Yeah. I thought, okay, how do I relate actually to this division between standard and non-standard mothers? Is there such a thing? Does it, and if there is, where does it exist? In real life, in literary texts, different political cultures? Is it helpful for us to think about mothers and the maternal through these lenses of what is ordinary and what isn't? You know what I'm talking about, right? Okay. So while I obviously agree with the organizers that mothers such as these are very common, but they're often marginalized or demonized in relation to normative discourse, it seems to me that in many ways, once we make this distinction, we are at risk of supporting that which we would like to challenge. By following this dichotomy, we maintain the hegemony of what is termed here the standard mother. So, and I'm not sure this is something that we would actually like to support, so to speak, or that would indeed extend our understanding of motherhood and the maternal. Making the less visible experiences visible is obviously a very important task. So then it made me think of what would be useful for rescuing the supposedly non-standard models of mothering from their marginalized position. And also, what exactly is not standard in these models that we are talking? I mean, we say standard, but what is non-standard about that? Okay, so obviously, I think that along these lines, I also wanted to suggest that we need to be careful not to other the non-standard in a way of suggesting some sort of a hierarchical order in relation to any experience which is slightly different to the one with which we are familiar. And I thought that Victoria's very thoughtful paper actually deals, amongst other things, exactly with this dilemma of how to be more inclusive. Her paper in many ways set up the theoretical outline for the ideas of changing models of motherhood. And one of the main challenges of feminist writers throughout the years was, and I think still is to rethink the maternal, aiming at taking it beyond the Oedipal formulation. So rather than dismissing or kind of, we are cancelling the Oedipal order, we want to somehow go beyond that and to extend its boundaries. And the question that I think obviously Victoria is asking, and I'd like to raise here, can we imagine different formulations of the maternal which are not subordinated to the paternal law? Okay, and I'll give my handout so you can, I guess it's maybe not very natural to think like that. And I think Victoria put it in, can we imagine a maternal order which doesn't depend upon the intervention of paternal law for the formation of subjectivity and intersubjectivity, and hence for the conditions of communication, which is something also that we would like to create here while we talk, obviously, and I think you were alluding to it. I can later say something about different ways to do subjectivity and intersubjectivity. Okay, Signa Howe, there is no way I'll be able to pronounce her name properly. So, yes, I'm really, no one pronounced my name, so it's, I feel okay. She opens her wonderful and moving paper with statements by women who are just about to become mothers. Being a mother equals here with having a child. Yet she reminds us that this is not how it always used to be. Maternity wasn't always equated with motherhood. Okay, and I just want also to say there are nannies and wet nurses, au pairs, fathers who mother, and so on. So for me, how come this is the hegemonic discourse? That's a really interesting question. If we are aware, for many, many years now, that it is not necessarily biological mothers who do the mothering work, why is that the hegemonic discourse? I really don't know. Further, with Victoria's paper in mind, I would like to ask how the experience of the Swedish adoptive mothers unsettle the Oedipal law. Perhaps, and to suggest that perhaps it does so by alluding to the common belief that biological mothers have a natural instinct to mother and to bond, where adoptive ones should take classes, and you'll have to believe me, from the other version of her talk, and also from different contexts, cultural contexts that I can tell you about, need to take classes to help them bonding with the child who is not originally theirs. And where for biological mothers not to bond instantly is rendered pathological, it is allowed for adoptive mothers and is recognized as a possible deficit, though from what we've heard it is not a problem whatsoever, but it reveals a sort of a cultural tendency to idealize the hegemonic biological mother's intuitive love. Further, the uncertainty, the anxiety, and in particular the sense of the otherness of the child associated in the version that I've read with adoptive parents, I would like to suggest that actually these are common mothering experiences. And again, I think in your paper, the woman that, the mother that you mentioned, that she's so surprised that her partner kind of looked at the child and it looks totally natural to him, where she thought, gosh, I didn't know that they're born like that. So there is a sense of kind of, that's not familiar. And I would like to suggest that actually this is, what does it mean to mother? That's what constitutes the maternal. And acknowledging that would assist in doing the work of idealizing the extremely good mother who allegedly doesn't feel like that. And there is work done by Rosika Parker. You've got here all the all the references, and I think that the Bayat piece, The Still Life, I thought, you are literary people, beautiful piece, really demonstrating how, how strange it is. Look, sorry, you understand? Yeah. So, okay, so we know it, John Raphael Leff, Laplanche, Pollock, and others. So, but biological mothers hardly ever talk about the alterity of their child. So the non-standard then holds, I would think, the less comfortable emotional states that would be otherwise dangerously pathologized when standard mothers express them. So then, thinking about what does it mean, standard and non-standard, perhaps models of motherhood hadn't really changed as such, but rather the inclusion of a whole range of maternal experiences, as would follow from a maternal order, allows for non-standard emotional repertoire that was repressed and marginalized, both culturally and psychically, to return to consciousness. It's a very long sentence that's trying to say that the non-standard really holds for us all the things that we don't want to associate with motherhood and the maternal. Okay, all the ambivalence, the otherness of the child, and so on, if I really, really kind of simplify it. So this is one way of unsettling the hegemonic model. Another way relates again to Victoria's point regarding memory and linear temporality, continuity and discontinuity of one's lineage. And I won't be able to extend on it, but it seems almost self-explanatory how adoption challenges kinship relations and continuity as we know it under the Oedipal order. And again, it doesn't replace it, but I think it really interrupts it. Now, Katrina's fascinating paper gives us a glimpse into the Swedish culture. And looking at the statistics that you brought, I felt it was so relieving. You know, for years I've been so envious of Swedish women, thinking, no, I'm serious, you know, thinking, okay, this is heaven for women, but actually it's not really like that. And as we know, the Swedish case is a representative for many who wish to show how welfare legislation can emancipate actually the subordinated. However, apparently when even welfare agenda doesn't guarantee change of the heart or change of the psychic structures. And this is very important, I think, within feminist agenda, because we are constantly told, we feminist women, that changing the labor division, the shared parenting, would bring the changes that we yearn for. Now, while this is very important that men and women would shake and will share the job, as we heard from Chodorov, it doesn't really bring change in the psychic structures. And I'm really, I'm a great believer in literary texts as reflecting kind of current trends and certainly psychic structures. So I think it's very, very important for us to hear this example. We are also told by Katrina that the fathers in these narratives unsettle the traditional structuration of the mother-child relation. I actually thought that by so doing they perform the traditional role psychoanalytic theories prescribed for men. And you can see here, you can read Winnicott, definitely Mahler. I think even Alison Stone is referring to that. Okay. Never mind. So this is what fathers are supposed to do. They need to rescue both child and mothers from drowning in what is perceived under Oedipal kind of law as symbiotic relations. So this is not new in any way. Also, I thought that the response of the father tells us that he might mother, but he still expects his wife to find in motherhood self-fulfillment. He follows what Katharina has termed the idea of ideal motherhood, according to which mothers can't really wish to be separated from their children. Yet the mothers who act upon the wish to leave one's child unsettle indeed the traditional beliefs about mother-child relation and thus extend our understanding of the standard. Okay, because again, I think many mothers would be very happy to leave their children at least for a little while. I'm a mother, I have no problem to say that. But I guess that here, your mothers, so to speak, certainly took it one step further. But I would like to suggest that that's part of the general maternal repertoire, that it shouldn't be other in any way. So these narratives, and actually both papers, are doing the important work of problematizing the concept of the maternal, and in particular of who can mother, and what does it mean to mother? Is it a sentiment actually? Is it the actual labor, the actual work of mothering? Or do we talk about psychic structure, the feminine matrixial, as Ettinger suggests, for instance? Katrina's paper, though, allows us to imagine a really exciting option. If men would perform the maternal role, what would be the implication for gender relations and sexuality? Because under psychoanalytic and also developmental psychology accounts, we know that the formation of gender identity depends on the gender of the initial carer, right? So these narratives then portray a reality within which the formation of gender identification might change significantly. And I think this is really, really interesting. Furthermore, if indeed, as Hochberg phrased it, it is by her and through her, through the mother as a source of memory, that one is rooted in genealogy, a past, a people, a tradition, then perhaps these narratives offer a glimpse into a radically different reality within which a mother is not necessarily associated with one particular gender. And that is indeed far beyond Oedipus. And I'd like to stop here. Thank you.